Someday we will live in the forest where there will be no loud cars, no loud planes.
But there'll be one asshole woodpecker. Just be like, you're like, we're shooting a video to try to save your lives. Like old curmudgeonly woodpecker. You kids in your YouTube channel. That's my woodpecker voice, apparently.
You also have acai on your lip. Hey guys, I'm Anna.
And I'm Brian.
And we are Those Annoying Vegans. And we are here doing another mukbang video. And we know some of you aren't that into mukbang, which is fine. Feel free to do some house cleaning while you listen, or just watch something else. But we're gonna talk about really interesting stuff today.
What do we have to eat today, Anna?
We have acai bowls.
Oh.
From Juice Buds.
They look delicious.
Mine is chock full of just about everything. And mine isn't the one titled
Overload?
Overload. That's his. But mine has bananas, strawberries, goji berries, almonds, chia seeds, granola, kale, spinach, and of course acai.
I got the aforementioned overload bowl. Acai, mixed berries, bananas, there's coconut milk in there, kale, spinach, granola, bananas and strawberries, hemp seeds, chia seeds, almond butter, goji berries. It's chock full of a lot of stuff, and I'm really excited to eat it.
So as many of you know, I had eye surgery last week. Thank you so much for your sweet comments and your get well wishes. I am doing really well. I was gonna do like a part 2, but there really isn't much to talk about other than I feel really good. I had no pain whatsoever. This whole past week was really easy. They prescribe Percocet to deal with the pain, but that amount of painkiller is so not worth what I experienced. I don't know, maybe other people experience more pain, but I think really taking care of it is what helped me. I mean, I've been very diligent with my eye patch and the eye drops, and the redness is going down. I still have a little bruising. That's where she put the anesthesia shot.
A lot of veins in your face.
Yeah.
Could hit one if you're stabbing it with a needle.
Dr. Fram, thank you for restoring my eye. Moving on. We know we haven't done a recipe video for you guys in a while, but we will have one next week. And we're also going to cover a very interesting topic, internet trolling.
Yes.
We are all familiar with it, and it especially pertains to veganism. And we know this particular video is probably gonna get a lot of that. Because today we are talking about ethics.
Yeah, we've covered the health aspect of veganism pretty in depth in a lot of our more recent videos.
And we've also talked about animal welfare and what the animals endure at factory farms. But we haven't covered the topic of ethics.
Is it right or is it wrong to kill an animal and eat it? Or exploit an animal for its milk or for its eggs and eat those?
And we know this topic makes people very nervous sometimes, and that's okay.
It's good. It's actually good that it makes you nervous, because generally people don't like harming animals in general. That's most people's modality is, I like animals, I don't want to hurt them. So when you see footage from factory farms, or when you see an animal being abused or an animal being slaughtered, and that makes you feel not so good, that nervousness, that sensitivity, that initial pushback is actually kind of good in a way. And
even if you don't want to watch those things, there is a reason for that. Why do you think? Shall we dive in?
Yes, into the food and into the talking part of the video.
Oh my goodness. Oh, they're so cold.
It is cold. It's very cold. I thought that too, but I was going to ignore that. Push through.
It's very good. It's very delicious and fresh.
Oh yeah.
Goji berries, yum.
Oh yeah. What's better than like fresh fruits and vegetables, really? It's like a big bowl.
Talking with your mouth full.
I thought that was a mukbang. Isn't that the thing about mukbang? I thought that's what the kids were into.
The mouth sounds.
The mouth sounds.
ASMR, autonomous sensory meridian response. That's what you guys are experiencing when you watch mukbang. Some people might not be triggered by mukbang. And that's okay.
So basically we got this idea to talk about the ethical implications of eating meat because we saw a debate between Friended and VeganGains. And before that, Friended did sort of a discussion with Ask Yourself that turned into a debate. And we watched 3 of Friended's videos on his channel about the topic of veganism. He really dives into sort of the meta ethics around veganism. Why is it that we have this thing called morality? And
where did it come from?
Who do we choose to include in our in-group versus our out-group? And is it okay that we exclude certain people and include certain animals but exclude others? It's a very busy way, I guess, of talking about a topic that we think is pretty simple.
But it might be a good sign that he's even exploring it. You know, people don't talk about things that they're not truly interested in. If it doesn't have an impact on you, you tend to ignore it.
Yeah, and clearly Friended is feeling conflicted because he had 3 videos that he made plus 2 debates with vegans trying to come up with a justification for why eating cows, pigs, chickens is okay. There's a handful of species that we've decided, oh, these are farm animals, so they're over here. And, you know, dolphins and cats and dogs and
some rabbits, some pigs,
bald eagles and whales, we like those animals, so they're over here. And so what is that distinction between various species that makes it okay to exploit some and not others?
Well, it's interesting because in the end, Friended simply admitted that his arguments were not good.
Yes, he would preface a lot of his arguments by saying, well, this is not a very good argument.
I know that's not necessarily a good argument. That's a terrible argument anyway. But
yeah,
it's not a good argument, I'm telling you.
But for him, it's taste. It comes down to taste. He said that he didn't want to be miserable
by not eating chicken and turkey at Thanksgiving and stuff like that. Yeah.
Some people are really, really tied to their food. You know,
I guess so. We'll go ahead and put aside the fact that we've discussed this before, that meat really doesn't have all that much of a taste. We season chicken, we season turkey, we season steak, we season hamburgers. Even bacon, you think, oh, it's just pig flesh, right? No, it's soaked in liquid smoke and salt. We're going to put all that over here to the side and just talk about, is taste pleasure a valid excuse to exploit these animals? We would argue no.
And that makes people uncomfortable. But why does it make people uncomfortable? Why is it that when we talk about ethics, people immediately put up a wall? One of the first reactions I think people have is, oh, you guys think you're so much better than me.
We're on our moral high horses over here, us vegans.
Yeah, it's not what goes through my mind day in and day out, that we're better than anyone else. We're not. That's why we're vegan. But if we keep going down that line, why does the mere idea of what we think about ourselves make them uncomfortable? It comes down, I feel, to a reflection of what they feel about themselves.
Most interactions that non-vegans have with vegans is, hey, everyone's going out to eat, and then when they take the order at the table, the vegan asks for no cheese, or they order the veggie option, or they whatever. They don't announce that, hey, everyone else here at this table is immoral. The fact that you have chosen to omit the animal product makes everyone else at the table think about the fact that they chose to include the animal product.
Right. Most people are good people, and they don't want to think that their actions are contributing to suffering, which is why there is pushback. There is trying to justify, there's trying to find excuses, there's trying to take out these emotions on vegans instead of looking within and being like, why am I taking this so seriously? Because if you were walking down the street and some random person pointed at you and said, you're ugly, if you feel ugly, then you're going to take that seriously, because it's going to be like a reaffirmation for you. Like if you had been having self-esteem issues, it almost like cements that for you. You know what I mean? If someone challenges your ethics and morals, you feel conflicted because ethics and morals are subjective.
We've changed our minds several times throughout history.
Right, and it's weird. In one of Friended's videos, I think he touched on the fact that morals change over time. All
the while clinging to an old way of thinking, i.e. exploiting animals for food.
The whole time we were watching his video, we were like, yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
that's true too.
We've seen other people do that in debates too, where they'll say like, listen, the consensus among our civilization right now is that eating animals is okay, and thus it's okay. All right, well, slavery was once okay, so do you think that that's okay? I don't know. Okay, then they can change. Minds can change, right?
Morals are changing regarding animals. And a lot of this change has to do with scientific developments. I mean, take the Cambridge Declaration of Consciousness, which was signed in 2012 in the presence of Mr. Stephen Hawking by all these neuropharmacologists, neurophysiologists, neuroanatomists, neuroscientists, who all gathered at the University of Cambridge to sign this document that pretty much delineates how animals are conscious beings, which people didn't believe before.
Yeah, it's weird that was in 2012.
Yeah.
Seems really late.
Yeah.
Like, has anyone ever had two dogs? You notice how they're different? And they have different personalities, and they like different things, and they sleep in different places, and they play different games, and they prefer different toys, and it's almost like they have a personality.
I guess Descartes didn't have dogs because Descartes' views about animals weren't necessarily 21st century.
A friend had kind of said the same thing too.
I have no feelings for chicken whatsoever. I see chicken as just like biological robots. I definitely see them as a product. I don't see them as a living animal.
You must be Doctor Strange because you've changed reality. They are living creatures. They do have personalities. They are social. They can feel pain.
They are social. That's a very important thing. I think he was very adamant about how humans have this social relationship with each other, as if animals didn't. He said humans work in groups. Animals work in groups. I mean, chickens solve problems together. Cows. Maybe he hasn't spent time with animals to
probably not.
know.
Especially not farm animals, because most Americans haven't.
Right.
Most Americans spend time with dogs and cats, not chickens and pigs and cows. That doesn't mean that there's actually a difference that justifies the way we treat them. People don't give us as much pushback on health and environment. We can say, hey, this vegan diet is clearly healthier, and people go, well, yeah, it is. But I choose to eat meat, cheese, and eggs. They're using the same logic of like alcohol and cigarettes. It's like, I know this thing is unhealthy for me, but I'm choosing to ingest it, even though I know it's detrimental to my health, which that aspect is a choice that you can make for yourself. If you want to smoke cigarettes, I guess. We would not recommend you do that, but it is your choice as a grown adult in this country. However, if your choice involves killing an animal that did not want to die, then it's not a choice.
You're now imposing your beliefs on that animal. Friend had also had this thing about personal liberties.
Because we live in a free country.
So we should be able to do whatever we want.
Yeah.
Peter Singer, he's one of our favorite philosophers, animal rights activists. He wrote this paper, which we're going to link in the description below. You guys should read it. It's really, really comprehensive, and it offers so many good examples and analogies that really, really make sense. One of the things he had to say about personal liberties, and I will quote, "In considering the ethics of the use of animal flesh for human food in industrialized societies, we are considering a situation in which a relatively minor human interest must be balanced against the lives and welfare of the animals involved. The principle of equal consideration of interests does not allow major interests to be sacrificed for minor interests." Which category would you put taste in? Major interest? Minor interest?
Apparently Friended puts it in the major column. We would shift it over to the minor column. That's that animal's entire life. Their entire everything. All that they will ever know and ever be is wrapped up in your piece of bacon. That entire pig's existence ended so that you could have a couple strips of bacon. It's really selfish and really arrogant. And again, did that just upset you? Maybe, but that's good, because that means that you're thinking about it. You're thinking, well, actually, yeah, that does kind of make sense, but I had bacon this morning. And I'm not a bad person.
Yeah, I'm a compassionate person.
And we agree with you. You are a good person. You are a compassionate person. It's just indoctrination into a society that has taught us for decades and decades that these are the animals that you eat, these are the animals that you don't eat. And don't think about it. Don't think about those chicken nuggets, even though the word chicken is in the name of the food.
So what is that difference between humans and animals that justifies treating animals the way we treat them. Ask Yourself has one of our favorite arguments for that. It's called the name the trait argument.
He says basically that in order to be consistent in the ideology that eating animals is okay, you need to name a trait that is absent in animals but present in humans, that if absent in humans, we could treat the humans exactly the same way we treat the animals. What is that difference? What do you mean? I mean, it's a cow and we're human. Come on, we're different. The argument asks you to pinpoint the difference. Point to it. What is it exactly about this sentient creature that can feel, that can think, that can love, that can play, that can experience happiness, joy, and sadness?
And values its life.
Why can we kill this animal? What is that trait? I know we're different.
Yeah, we're not arguing
we
that.
know we're different.
That's the thing. People think that vegans think that there isn't a moral hierarchy when it comes to animals and humans. But we're not denying that there is.
A human being has a greater capacity to experience the world than a cockroach, for example. But if we don't have to kill the cockroach, why do it?
Who says it's better or lesser? It's experiencing life in exactly the way a cockroach should experience life.
And if you guys watch the movie Interstellar or Arrival, they talk about other species in the universe somewhere that might have a higher cognition than us and might experience the world in more than 3 dimensions. Maybe they experience it in 4 or 5 dimensions. They would have a higher experience of life than we do. That doesn't mean that they just get to kill us.
Right.
Because of that.
Jeremy Bentham, who is the founder of the idea of utilitarianism, he has a quote which you guys might recognize. "The day may come when the rest of the animal creation may acquire those rights which never could have been withholden from them but by the hand of tyranny. The French have already discovered that the blackness of the skin is no reason why a human being should be abandoned without redress to the caprice of a tormentor. It may one day come to be recognized that the number of the legs, the velocity of the skin, or the termination of the ossacrum are reasons equally insufficient for abandoning a sensitive being to the same fate. What else is it that should trace the insuperable line? Is it the faculty of reason, or perhaps the faculty of discourse? But a full-grown horse or dog is beyond comparison a more rational as well as a more conversable animal than an infant of a day or a week or even a month old. But suppose they were otherwise, what would it avail? The question is not can they reason, nor can they talk, but can they suffer?" What does it come down to? What is that common denominator between humans and animals? Yes, we're different, but what is that common denominator that justifies giving their interests equal consideration, which is Peter Singer's main argument? It's not that we're equal, because we're not. Animals can't vote. They can't play basketball. Well, some can, I think. We should give them equal consideration because they are equally capable of experiencing pain and suffering in the way we do. And you might say, well, we don't know that cows feel the same pain we do, but they feel pain. For the cow, that pain is the maximum pain that that cow can experience.
You could make that same argument human to human. Like, I'll never know what it's like to be a different human than myself. I'll never be in someone else's head feeling what that other person feels, and we know that human beings have different pain thresholds. Capacity for the amount of pain doesn't really sound like a justification, because if we know someone has deadened nerve endings and doesn't feel pain, okay, then are we allowed to just do whatever we want to that person?
No.
Then non-vegans would say, yeah, but that's a human, not an animal, and then we would say, okay, name the trait that differentiates humans from animals. It goes
on and on.
Vegans often get hypothetical scenarios, like Friended gave to VeganGains towards the end of the debate.
Yeah. If you could choose to end cancer or end all animal suffering, which one would you choose? Well, first of all, animal products cause cancer, but these hypotheticals are not very productive because they are not a reflection of reality. Who would you save from a burning building, your grandmother or your dog?
VeganGains also proposed his own burning building hypothetical by saying that, well, if you're a firefighter and you run into a building and you can only save one person, do you pick the 80-year-old man or do you pick the little girl? You have to make a moral judgment there, and that's human to human. So we understand hierarchy.
The point is, we don't have to make those choices on a daily basis. We can choose to live a life that is compassionate and is in the best interests of these animals. And it may not be perfect. That's another argument we get.
Yeah.
Is, well, you aren't really avoiding all animals. Okay.
Yeah.
We're just doing our best.
It's as much as is possible and practicable as per the definition of veganism, which isn't, hey, let's get all animal suffering on the planet down to 0 or it's not worth it. Mm-hmm. No. Let's reduce as much as is possible and practicable. And so Friended came up with what he considers a way around the name the trait argument, because name the trait is a very frustrating argument because it's good. It's a really good argument. Friended has attempted to get around it by using his in-group, out-group argument, which was basically the entire discussion with Ask Yourself, differentiating in-group from but species though. Mm-hmm. Those were, he kept bouncing between the two because inevitably here's what happens with vegan versus non-vegan in a debate setting about name the trait. What happens is you will go down a laundry list of traits, right? Intelligence. Okay, well, if a human being weren't as intelligent, could you kill that person? Well, no. Okay, great. Moral agency. Okay, well, if a human being didn't have moral agency, could you kill that person? No. Okay. All the arguments, right? It inevitably gets down to the fact that, look, no matter what, humans and cows are just different. They're just different. You'll never get an animal and a human on the same playing field because we're just different. To us, that kind of sounds like you're just saying, well, we had the fortune of being born human, and they had the misfortune of being born a pig.
Oh well.
What you gonna do? And that's a fine argument. However, it means that you have to then be okay with slavery, with racism, with sexism, with the Holocaust, with a bunch of other things that have happened in humanity's history because, well, he just happened to be born black at the wrong time. Guess he's a slave now. Whoops.
Women weren't allowed to vote. Sorry you were born a woman.
And if you're okay with that argument, then that's at least consistent. Yeah. It's morally horrific, but it's consistent.
You have to also put yourself in the shoes of the oppressor, because if you think that all of that is wrong, good. That's where we should be. We're on the same page. But the oppressors at that time did not think that that was wrong. They did not look at black people as equals. And we're not saying that it's perfect now. We are still having issues with racism and discrimination, but at least we have come to the consensus that it is wrong and that there are laws in place now to protect people.
You enjoy the privilege to vote now, right?
I do.
Because we changed our collective opinion on the morality of that topic.
And back then, I bet there were many, many people who didn't think that could happen and tried to justify it and look for excuses. The thing is, we don't have to carry these things with us forever.
No.
People are very like, well, this is never going to change. This is just not going to change. Or why should we change? Morals change all the time. That's inevitable. The more we come to explore and study and understand the world around us, the creatures in it, each other, that will always lead to change. Along those lines, you might be wondering, well, we have so many issues already as humans. Why would I dedicate any time to the animals?
No.
That is a very poor excuse. When we talk about equality, we have to be consistent. We need to include all the groups that are being oppressed. And that includes animals.
Plus, it's not like most people are so preoccupied with like other movements in their life that they can't just order a veggie burger instead of a cow burger. You eat 3 times a day anyway. Just eat the vegan food. It's super not hard. Everyone rears back from it like, oh my goodness, I can't change. And like you said, we don't have to keep carrying this with us. Like when I was a kid, I watched the Critters movies and I was really scared of critters. Now as an adult, I realize that's silly, but I was really scared of critters in my closet at night. Here I stand before you, a grown man, and I no longer worry about fictitious monsters in my bedroom at night. I don't have to keep carrying that with me to the grave.
We ate meat too.
We did. People forget that one too.
Yeah, we were confronted with those very thoughts and those very conflicts.
Yeah, we had the exact same pushbacks, the exact same non-arguments, the exact same...
I didn't. I'm sorry.
You didn't, but I did.
You did.
Because they don't want to know that that's the type of pain and suffering and torture and exploitation that's going on every single day. It sucks. It's really sad.
Yeah.
The good news is you can do something about it. All you gotta do is not buy meat and dairy and eggs. That's it. That's literally it.
You will be okay. We promise. Take it one step at a time. One step at a time. See how you feel. If you encounter a little roadblock somewhere, there are many people in this community that would be happy to help you.
We're one of them. Well, we're two of them. But, you know, one channel. I was listening to Nathan Runkle of Mercy for Animals on David Smalley's podcast recently, and he said something along those lines that we need a little bit of foresight. We need to be able to look down the road a little bit. In 100 years, in 200 years, in 500 years, what are those human beings going to think when they look back on our time now? Are they going to think of us in the same way that we think of slave owners? We look back on that period in our history and we don't like it.
In fact,
make us feel good.
It's trickled down. It's still causing problems.
It's a really sad time to look back on. It's embarrassing. It's a big blemish on the history of the world. We look back on it and we go, how could those people possibly have thought this way? But they did. And maybe people in the future are going to look back at the way we eat meat now and go, how could these people possibly think this way?
They were unhealthy. They were destroying the environment. They were causing massive amounts of suffering. And all for what? Because they liked it.
A friend had also brought up the idea that we're a less violent society now because we don't actively go out and kill animals for food. We don't witness that. We don't become desensitized to it.
Mm-hmm. How do you quantify that?
If removing ourselves from the slaughter of animals makes us a more non-violent society, then maybe we should just stop the slaughtering of animals altogether. Weird argument.
I know that's not necessarily a good argument.
They touched on the golden rule too, like do unto others as you would want done unto yourself.
Yeah.
And he said simply that he doesn't extend the do unto others thing to chickens and fish.
Yeah.
Well, why not? Well, because species. There isn't a good argument to be had, and he knew that. That's why he said so many times that it's a bad argument.
The in-group, out-group argument as well, it's kind of shoddy because it's very arbitrary. I mean, it doesn't just pertain to humans either. It pertains to who we decided was in our in-group, because we've decided that dogs are in our in-group and cats are in our in-group and some pigs are in our in-group. Like, we just randomly.
Right.
And that's just the way it is. It's not a consistent argument.
And purely from a debate standpoint, like just the tactics of a debate, that's what Ask Yourself was like holding firm and saying, are we arguing in group or are we arguing species? Because he kept saying that, well, the difference between humans and pigs is species. That's why we're in different groups. But dogs are also in our in group, but cows aren't in our in group. Right. Okay, so then in group isn't the argument.
Right.
We need to get off of in-group so that we can move forward. And he's like, no, in-group is the argument. That isn't the argument, because if you were excluded from someone's in-group, is it okay for them to kill you? To which he says, no. Right.
Yeah.
So in-group is not a valid argument. We can now move to species. He even said we purposefully don't let cows, pigs, and chickens into our in-group because we know that we'll eventually kill them, which is horrific. I know I'm going to kill this creature over here, so I'm not going to get close to it. I'm not going to get attached. I'm going to stay as detached as possible, put it into another group. That way I can view it as an object instead of a living sentient being. That should speak volumes right there, that we purposely do this.
Who are we to decide?
And the exact opposite is true of our pets, right? We give pets names because humans have names, and that makes them close to us. Now we're going to give these animals names. And we're going to give these animals Christmas presents. And we're going to give these animals a bed to sleep in. And give these animals everything that I would want. But if it's a pig or a cow or a chicken, nah.
And if your argument is, well, we're humans and we have dominion over the world and we earned it. How did you earn it? I mean, you were born.
You were born.
This was a collective effort over millennia. But really, you didn't do anything.
Nope. You were born into this world of human, just like the pig was born into the world of pig. Zero control over that fact. Really, anyone that argues against veganism from a moral standpoint ends up getting very frustrated. And the reason they end up getting very frustrated is because it isn't justifiable. The name the trade argument is a very good argument to pinpoint and highlight the very reason why it's not justifiable. But at least for a person like Friended, he did seem affected. He did seem like he was thinking about it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, this really doesn't make sense. My arguments aren't very good. And that's good.
And didn't he also say he only eats meat like once?
Yeah, he said he only eats meat like once a week, but he can't give it up.
Because he'd be miserable.
He said he didn't want to give it up in the same way that he doesn't want to give up Star Wars.
And someone in the comments said, Star Wars though. Like, that's a new
one. I haven't heard that one yet. How many pigs, cows, and chickens did George Lucas slaughter to create Star Wars? Or is it a movie?
I have to say though, out of all the debates that VeganGains has had, Friended was actually very cordial, very respectful, never raised his voice, never got emotionally charged. So in that sense, thank you. I know a lot of people found that boring, like before commenting, they're like,
These two guys are just talking.
Now? Yeah.
That's what a debate is.
I didn't mind that. I actually thought it was easier to listen to.
Ethics are a touchy subject, and if this video has affected you, that's good. It means that the wheels are turning. You're thinking. You're thinking in the same way that we thought before we went vegan, and every vegan before us. Most every vegan did not start life as a vegan, and they had to hear these arguments and change their way of thinking based on new information. And that's a good thing.
So guys, that's our video. I hope you found it insightful. I hope it made you think. And if you're upset, that's understandable. Leave your comments below. Before we end the video, we wanted to let you know that you can get these shirts on Etsy.
Oh yeah.
At our store. We actually finished designing our new shirts, and we might be getting those printed out very soon. And I think you'll like them. I really like them.
I do too.
One of the other things we wanted to incorporate into our videos from here on out is news. News about animal rights progress around the world. Sometimes that news gets sort of like buried, but you guys really have no idea how many strides we are making every single day all over the world with animal rights. Take the recent Animal Rights March in Tel Aviv. 25,000 plus people. One of the largest in history in Tel Aviv. Guys, that's amazing. Look at this picture. That's for animals. And yesterday, the Federal Court of Appeals upheld the ban on foie gras in California. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think I said that before. And we're not done yet. Also in California, a bill passed that will prohibit puppies, cats, and rabbits to be sold at pet stores if they come from puppy mills, cat mills, or rabbit mills. No more. That's done in California.
It can only be from shelters.
Only be shelter animals or rescues.
Big change is happening.
Just so you know how much of a difference we are really making. All of us, all of you.
And as always, guys, if you like this video, please click that thumbs up down below. It really helps us out.
It does.
And if you haven't already,
subscribe.
We will bring you something new every week. Thank you so much to our Patreon patrons.
Thank you.
You guys are the best. You help these videos keep coming out. And we will see you soon.
Bye. Mimi!
Hi, Emmy.
Come, Mimi. Who's this baby?
She's not a baby anymore.
What's this? Oh my.
Get it.
What is this?
Get it.
Tick, tick.
Get it.
Vegan sticker collection.
Oh,
Eat
yeah.
more chickpeas.
Yes.
You're worth it to me.
I know pigs are smart, but man, I love the taste of pork. Friended 2017.